You are now tuned in to Heat Check with Slatter and Antonio Turner, right here on GTA Sports Network. Follow GTA Sports Network on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, as well as GTA Heat Check, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, GTA Sports, and check out GTASportsNet.com for all things in the world of sports. Hello everyone, this is Slatter with GTA Sports. I'm here to give you the official Game 4 recap. Boston Celtics, Golden State Warriors. For those of y'all that watched the game, you know the Warriors won 107-97. But let me break down how they won and what to expect in Game 5. Seeing as how they're going back to San Francisco, and I'm going to let you know right now, if the Warriors do anything close to what they did in Game 4, this series is pretty much over. Quarter. Andrew Wiggins was the only person that set the tempo in the first quarter. Anybody that wants to know who the unsung hero was, it was not Curry, even though Curry did have a monstrous performance, and we'll get to that later. But Andrew Wiggins got the game started when nobody could hit a shot. Nobody could buy a shot to save their life. Andrew Wiggins kept the game alive for Golden State and ultimately coming out with 17 points. The majority of his points coming in the first quarter, being that he was the only one scoring. And he managed to cool off a little bit, but yet keep his game low for the rest of the game. I mean, we're talking 41% from the field, 33% from three. I mean, overall 16 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal. I mean, you're dealing with Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins has never been in a situation like this before where he has no pressure, yet he has all the responsibility of a forward. Being that he's the forward that replaced Kevin Durant, of course, that could be a little bit of pressure to a degree, but for the most part, he's always played his position on every team he's been on. But this is the first team he's actually been a fitting piece instead of being the man. He's like the third, the fourth scoring option, depending on what Jordan Poole's doing. And being that he's younger, Andrew Wiggins got a few more years of experience under his belt. He's more or less expected to carry the load when everybody else is coming up short or going through what we call Brick City. So the next person that's on the list of a high scoring why the Golden State won Game 4 is Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson showed up. 7-17 as well from the field, same exact numbers as Wiggins. 4 of 10 from three, slightly better than Game 3. It may not look like much on stats, but what we looking at here is impact players who impact the game beyond the stats. Right, the stats don't really tell the whole game. Let's just put it this way: Klay Thompson made his shots where he needed to make them the most. When he was relied on the most, and when he was dependent on the most, he answered the call and delivered. We all know Steph Curry is going for the Finals MVP. He's obviously, according to all the stats that are being thrown out now, has scored a third of the team's points in this series. Obviously, he went off for 43 points. We're talking 14-26 from the field. That's 53%. 50% from three, 7-14, and 88% from the free throw line, missing only one free throw. We're looking at 10 rebounds and 4 assists. What we need to understand here is Steph Curry is under 6'5". He's the point guard of the team, and he has the third most rebounds on the team. He has nearly the same amount of rebounds as Kevon Looney, who is the center when Draymond's not out there playing small ball center. For Steph to manage to have gotten 43 and 10, that's not even in his game. That just lets me know how aggressive he was applying pressure to the entire Boston Celtics defense, made them play honest, hard-nosed defense basketball. And he was a man on a mission. For those who don't remember Game 3, Al Horford landed on Steph's foot that they injured when they played the Boston Celtics in the regular season, which caused him to miss the last 12 games of the regular season. So naturally, it was probably a bit of a concern that he would miss the rest of this series based on it being the same foot. Obviously, he did whatever it took, whether it was a cortisone shot or whatever, to make sure that his foot was 100% ready, because he played this game like there was no pain in that foot. Now, for all we know, he felt that pain the next morning, and is probably in a lot of pain right now. We don't know. All I know is based on the efficiency of the game, the aggressiveness, and the way he drove to the basket, which is not even what he's known for. He's known for running off screens and switches and getting the open three. So for him to even take it to the rim or even get those fouls and get those shots and force the refs to be honest and blow the whistle, I mean, there's really nothing. I really have nothing bad to say about Steph's game. 43 points in 40 minutes. I mean, speaks for itself. Um, Jordan Poole gave us 14, which he was only projected to give us 10. So the fact that he did anything over 10, 2 of 7 from three, got to step up on that. 6 of 13 from the field is not bad. It's actually pretty good, 46%. But we have to keep in mind too, this is Jordan Poole's first finals. I expect him to have jitters, first time jitters, but he has to step to the plate. If he wants to be the official third scoring option on his team and essentially make them respect him enough to start him in the starting lineup and move Clay to the bench, he has to be more efficient. As of right now, the way it stands, Clay's position in the starting lineup is secure because he's seasoned, experienced, and knows how to step up to the plate when the moment and the lights are the brightest. Right now, Jordan Poole is still looking shaky, and you can tell that he's young, he's new to the game, and it's showing. Now, on the other side, the same could be said for the Boston Celtics, being that this is their first finals experience. The first half of the game looked decent, but I saw a lot of what we call rookie mistakes, turnovers, bad shot selection, telegraphing passes. I mean, basically giving the Warriors every opportunity to kill any momentum they were building. I mean, there was a point in the first half where Tatum and Curry were trading baskets. They had the same amount of shots going in and were taking the same amount of attempts. And I felt like at that moment, if they were able to like snapshot that moment in the game and carry that IQ throughout the rest of the game, we would easily be looking at the Warriors staring down the barrel of a 3-1 deficit in this series. However, I don't know what happened from the end of the second quarter going into the third quarter, but the overall team IQ dipped dramatically. And instead of them playing smart basketball and holding the Warriors, responsible and accountable on defense, they literally gave the game away. There was even a time in the fourth quarter where I believe the Celtics were only down 3 points and maybe a few minutes left in the game, and you end up losing this game by 10, ultimately due to poor decision making, bad shot selection, living by the three and dying by the three when the three wasn't dropping at all. I mean, we're talking about a game where Derek White was the only person really hitting all his threes. Everybody else either 33% from three or less. Tatum did hit 4 out of 8 threes. Not really taking it away from his game, but as far as trusting his teammates and taking smarter shots, there's in that moment when they were only down 3 points, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum should have been forcing the Warriors defense to the basket, forcing the refs to blow the whistle and getting those calls. Tatum would have gotten to the free throw line. I mean, way more than you need more than 5 attempts. And the fact that he shot 60% from the free throw line, that's not good enough. And you only took 5 attempts. That right there lets me know you're taking way too many threes and you're not driving to the basket enough. Boston has a height and length advantage over the Warriors in pretty much every position. I mean, you have Al Horford out there, Tatum, Brown, Williams in your starting lineup, and then you throw in Marcus Smart. Aside from your point guard position, every other position has length. You use that advantage every time. You should not be settling for the three. And you shouldn't be making plays that are predictable and easy to be thwarted by the Warriors defense. The Warriors are seasoned, experienced. This series is strictly youth versus experience, athleticism versus IQ. Boston has all the right tools to win this series. Problem is they don't know how to use them and maximize their potential. The Warriors, on the other hand, have been here before. So the experience and the well-seasoned veteran leadership on this team, as well as the elite veteran coaching and championship DNA, we're talking Steve Kerr, who's won rings as a player and a coach, and comes from the coach Greg Popovich tree. Then on the other side, you have Ime Udoka, who's also from the coach Popovich tree, but it's his first year. And he's gotten Boston to the finals, so we're not taking it away from him. Udoka's first year. This is not a knock on him. If they lose this series, it's still an accomplishment. You overachieved because you made it to the finals in your first year as a head coach. So you overachieved. But ultimately, I said it on the clip, and I had some people hit me back saying that they disagreed because I think they misread my title. I said the Warriors will win if the Celtics don't win in 6. What I meant by that was, for those who misread it or didn't understand it fully, I had the Warriors winning this series in 7. And the reason why I say that is because of all the things I just mentioned: experience, leadership, IQ. The chance that Boston had to take this series essentially is still there, but the chances of them winning this are slim to none. They would literally have to win the next 2 games in order for this to, because I'm just going to say, I said it before and I say it again. If you get to game 7, the Warriors are winning the series. Boston, barring injury, has to win this in 6 games. If they don't win this in 6 games, they're not winning this series. And the reason why I say that is simple. If Boston wins in 6 games, their final game is in Boston, where they have the best chance to win. And that's even questionable now because technically game 4 was theirs for the win. The Warriors didn't do anything spectacular. If Steph is scoring, Steph's going to score regardless. You have to force him to trust everybody else to score. The Klay Thompsons, the Jordan Pooles, Andrew Wiggins, the Draymond Green, who has been damn near obsolete the whole series. If you really want to win this series, you have to force Steph to get rid of the ball. Make him pass first, then shoot. Not get the ball, see who his matchup is. Oh, it's Al Horford, top of the key. I'm taking that. Oh, Marcus Smart just got caught in a screen. I'm taking that. Jason Tatum's giving me too much space in front of my shot. I'm taking that. This is what he did to y'all. Every time he had the ball in his hand. No fear. Took the shot, made the shot, and then talked about it. Cashed out. Because you didn't shut off the oxygen. You didn't close out good enough. And you left old Al Horford on Steph Curry. I hope that wasn't a play that was drawn up by the coach. I'm hoping that was an error because the best person to guard Steph has to be Marcus Smart. And if you're not going to use Marcus Smart on him, you're going to switch him out to somebody else. Tatum, Brown, do not leave Derek White on Steph Curry because Derek White got cooked too. I understand they're both guards and you probably figure he's the fastest and he does have good defense. So I'm not taking that away from Derek White's defense here. Derek White's defense was better than his offense at one point. So I'm not taking that away from that. Here's where it becomes a problem. Derek White's too small. And that's saying a lot because Curry's not that big. But Derek White is smaller than Steph Curry. So it's a mismatch still. Even though it probably looked good on paper, it looked like the best person to put in front of him that's not named Marcus Smart, he got cooked every time. Every time you saw Derek White, he shot it and made it more times than not. So you can't have Al Horford, even though he has the height, he don't have the speed, agility, lateral movement, none of that. None of that is going to work. Okay? He is a statue compared to Curry. The way Curry moves, he cannot keep up with that. He will get lost in the vortex every time. Marcus Smart has to be able to fight around those screens. He cannot get caught up in the vortex like that. There was a play where he got caught up so bad he fell trying to guard Curry. Curry took that, dribbled through it, left, and did a floater off the right side. And that was toward the end of the game. That was actually in the fourth quarter. He fell. He literally had Marcus Smart on the ground looking for a ref to blow the whistle and give him a call. And he didn't get it because the rest just was like, you just got cooked. I'm not finna. Just Curry literally dribbled him off his feet. So we're talking about players who have been here before at this level on this stage, showing you why they're considered one of the greatest teams ever assembled in the draft. Organic. The Celtics are going to be back in the finals. When and how they win it is going to come through them learning from this experience, learning from their mistakes, watching the footage, studying the footage, making the roster moves as they need to, pay whoever you need to pay, trade whoever you need to trade. This is a good team. I'm not taking nothing against the Celtics. There's nothing against the Celtics. I got a lot of people that are rooting for the Celtics. But based on what I've seen, what I know, I don't see them winning the championship this year. It would have to be a miracle, something drastic like Barry. And I'm not wishing nothing on nobody. It would have to be an injury or something. Something would have to happen because Tatum has yet to prove that he can be the guy. Jaylen Brown has been proving game in and game out, wins or losses, that he can be the guy. Some have argued with me about that and said that, well, he's only proven that because he's the number 2 option, so he's getting better looks. He's not being guarded as difficult as Tatum. I understand that. That's possible. But anybody that watches footage and film knows that Jaylen Brown is the heart and soul of this team. Tatum may be the face in the franchise. That's who you talk to at the press conference, post-game, pre-game, what have you. But Jaylen Brown shows up and performs every night, win, lose, or draw. He gonna give you 18, 20 plus points per night. So the team's kind of finding their identity some would say at the worst time possible because at the finals, but this is a building block for them. This is a stepping stone in the right direction to go from making multiple Eastern Conference Finals appearances in the last 4 or 5 years and then going to the finals. I mean, this is nothing but a step in the right direction, but I don't see them winning the series. Overall, it's just they're not ready. They overachieved. They weren't really supposed to be here, but the Bucks were injured, Heat were injured, Bulls were injured. Every team they played through, Brooklyn just was dysfunctional. Every team they played. Oh, by the way, there were injuries in Brooklyn as well. But every team they played to get here, yeah, it was. They're battle tested. They went through Kyrie and KD, swept them in the first round. But some of that's more so on Brooklyn being dysfunctional. Milwaukee, the loss of Chris Middleton in the Bulls series changed the dynamic of the team completely. On top of the fact that that team got max contracts for their top 3 players, which ultimately led to them losing their bench players because they couldn't afford to keep them, which sent PJ Tucker to Miami, sent Dante DiVincenzo out to, I believe, Sacramento, and overall left a depleted bench because they put all their money into their top 3 players. And it's not their fault. They're in a small market. So the team didn't only have so much money to work with without, having to pay a luxury tax. And then you go 7 games with them. Then you get to Miami and they lose Tyler Hero with a groin injury, who was a critical piece to why they got, to Eastern Conference Finals, along with Jimmy Butler, PJ Tucker, Bam Adebayo. Victor Oladipo showed up. And even Duncan Robinson, I think, had a couple good games in that mix. But overall, they were banged up as well. Jimmy had a bad knee. Victor's come back from injury. Bam was come back from injury as well. So you look at the journey. On paper, they went through the toughest road. They played multiple top 10 future Hall of Fame players. So this is not a knock on Boston. This is just a recap of what could have happened, what should have happened, and what's going to happen going forward. Due to the fact they lost this game only by 10 points says a lot because Steph had 43 of that 107, nearly half the points. If they could find a way to sustain him and force more, if they're gonna make Curry shoot, they need to contest his shots better, close out better, put the clamps on him, put some pressure on him, throw him out of his element. Do not let him get comfortable. Don't let him get in the grooves. Don't let him get into his spots. When they do the switches, do not let him get a screen off and get the open shot. Do not have him matched up with Al Horford. Do not have him matched up with Derek White. It needs to be Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, or Jason Tatum picking up that defensive assignment every single possession. That is the only way you will stop Golden State. That is it. You want Clay to take more shots. You want Jordan Poole to take more shots. You want Draymond Green to take shots out of desperation because the shot clock's running out and he can't get the ball to nobody because everybody's clamped up. Nobody's open. There's no passing lane. There's no feeds. There's no cuts. There's no slashers. You have to force him to shoot because Dre's going to miss more times than not. Poole is hit or miss. You want Wiggins to take more shots. You want the players that know their role to step out of their role, to feel uncomfortable. If you can't do that, Golden State's going to win. Golden State's going to take the series. And if they have a confidence issue, Warriors might win it in 6. They might win it in Boston. Now, they could be petty. They've done this before. They could be petty and let Boston win game 6 just so they can win at home in game 7. I could definitely see that. No matter how you slice it, I'm going on the record to say this is probably the Warriors' last run. I think the league is ready to move forward. There's a lot of young talent in the East and Western Conference. Teams are really good now. There's a lot of parity in the league. The East is no longer the weaker conference. Both conferences are very strong. I feel like we're at a point now where the league is ready to move on from the LeBron, Steph Curry era. We're going into the Ja Morants, the Luka Doncic, the Giannis. If Brooklyn can make a run, they may give Kyrie and KD one more shot. I honestly think they're done. They might even break that team up before the offseason camps, training camps start up at the draft. There could be a big trade coming up in the draft, so we'll be on the lookout for that, which is in like about another week or two. Again, the game is a good matchup on paper. Great matchup. So it's not that Boston can't win this series, but the mistakes they're making are so blatant and it shows that they're inexperienced. And Golden State was capitalizing every single time. Too many turnovers, way too many turnovers as a team. When we go overall on turnover comparisons, we're talking about both teams had too many turnovers, and arguably Warriors had more than Boston, shockingly. 16 to 15, basically the same amount of turnovers roughly, but even so, those are too many turnovers. Too many turnovers for both teams, which further proved my point. Boston could have won this game and should have won this game. But when you're jacking up threes out of desperation because time's running out, instead of driving to the basket and drawing the foul, this is the outcome. But the league has become so driven on three-point shooting. The mid-range gets disrespected. Nobody wants contact anymore and drive to the basket and force the hand to shoot free throws. Some players are too scared to shoot those free throws because there's so much pressure to hit the free throws, even though we call it the charity stripe because it's free money. Sometimes psychologically, it just certain players can't take that kind of pressure being applied. So they take the three. And I even said something about this, in the Miami and Boston series. Jimmy shot, you want Jimmy to take the last shot. I understand why he took a three, trying to, win the game instead of going for the foul, getting, overtime. He had played the whole 48 minutes. He probably had no legs left in him, which is another reason why he probably missed the shot the way he did. And probably figured the team was too tired to go into overtime, so he didn't want to risk it. But again, the outcome could have easily went a different way. For all he knew or didn't know, Boston might have been just as tired, and had they won in overtime, they might have had a fighting chance to be in the finals right now. So, again, Boston has the talent Boston has the coaching. Boston has the defense, better defense than Golden State, because again, Golden State's known for offense. And they show spurts of defense. They have moments, but a lot of their points came off of Boston's turnovers, and that's not necessarily defense. That was just bad passes, bad shot selection, and just careless recklessness with with ball handling. I mean, low IQ plays, low IQ on the leadership on the floor. I don't care how good your coaching is. Players have to execute. If they can't execute, then all your coaching scheme, style, and IQ goes out the window because the players can't execute the plays when they're being made. Boston just got to step up and get better if they want to have a real chance of winning. They got to step up. They have to step up, and it may take another season or two for them to get that. Ultimately, so I say Game 5, Warriors should win it. Warriors should definitely win Game 5. They're back home. They got to protect home court. The series is tied 2-2, which is basically 0-0. But of course, the Warriors win the next 2 games. It's over, but it could go back and forth the rest of the way. Being that the NBA is a business, it's sports entertainment. Don't be surprised if the series goes 7. The league makes most of their money in the postseason, so the longer they can milk this out, you got to realize the end of this series is the end of the season. Drafts literally the week after that. Training camp, summer league, and all that starts right after that. It goes the end of the season, drafts the next week, free agencies right after that. Then we got summer league. Then we go into training camp. So we're the ball is rolling all year long. So the league makes the most of their money right now, June. So I can see them carrying this out 7 games going into Father's Day. I believe Game 7 would be on Father's Day. So don't put it past the league to go ahead and make that happen. And these teams are talented enough to go 7 games. But I do believe the Warriors are going to get the job done. They're going to make this last ride. They're going to get these rings. And then the team is going to, gracefully bow out and let the young talent come up and be the future of the league, the future of the franchise. Steph's had a great run. Easily first ballot Hall of Famer. Clay, Dre, all those guys. The Warriors is going to go down as one of the greatest teams ever assembled through a draft organically. We're talking like up there with the Bulls dynasty. I mean, it's definitely a dynasty when it's all said and done. So no Warriors slander here, no Celtics slander either. I like both teams. Just they got to grow a little more. They're still young minded. They have all the youth and athleticism and the talent, but they just don't know how to maximize it yet. They haven't mastered it yet. What they've done this postseason has been nothing short of an accomplishment. It should be applauded. Shout out to Ime Udoka, rookie coach season, you made it to the finals. Not too many rookie coaches can say that. You've made history just by getting there, just by making an appearance. You did your part. So this is not a knock on you. This comes down to plays being made and properly executed. X's and O's. I mean, you going up against a coach that's won multiple championships as a player and a coach. I mean, Steve Kerr is a mastermind in that sense, and he should be respected as such. A lot of people don't want to give him the respect because Mark Jackson built the team up, and then, of course, they fired Mark Jackson, gave Steve Kerr, he started winning rings. So they don't want to give him credit, but let's keep it real. This team wouldn't have won as many rings if Kerr was not the coach. You can't just throw just any coach in that position and get the same results. That is just not how this works. If that was the case, I'm willing to go on and say, I completely disagree that they'll ever get a chip. If that was true, then Steve Nash would be able to get Brooklyn a championship because he has that much talent, Hall of Fame level talent on his roster, and he couldn't even get past Boston. So that let me know right there and confirm what I already knew. You cannot just make anybody the head coach. It takes more than just names on paper and a roster that's been assembled through free agency, trades, or what have you, to win a championship. You can't just manufacture that. unless you have a LeBron James on your teams, and then maybe because he does a lot of GM stuff. But besides that, it takes more than just names on paper, all stars, Hall of Famers, and a Hall of Fame or an All Star level coach that was a All Star as a player. It does not automatically make you a great head coach. But the players have to want to be coached. And I believe this Boston Celtics team wants to be coached by Ime Udoka because they are giving him the best versions of themselves that Brad Stevens couldn't tap into because they didn't respect his voice in the locker room. So this is not a knock on Boston. They're just young. And they got here when they weren't supposed to. There were other teams that were slated to be here out of the East. And it wasn't the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics were my dark horse all season. Y'all heard me say this. I said this as soon as we got to post. I said my dark horse to get there and possibly win it all. Keyword is possibly. I did say it was possible. The Boston Celtics. But based on what I'm seeing so far, now that we're tied 2-2, not this year. It's not their year. It looks good. It looks promising. They're going to make it interesting. They're going to drag this thing 7 games. And it's going to come down to that last quarter, last few possessions to see who wins it all. But I'm almost 100% certain the Golden State Warriors are going to win the championship this year. Even with Steph's foot issues and everybody else playing banged up, they're going to win. It's a feel-good story. The league is going to milk it. They missed the playoffs 2 years in a row. Clay was hurt 2 years in a row. They lost in the finals in 2019 because of injuries, and then they come back 2-3 years later and they win it again. Like, it's a great feel-good story. It's a comeback kid type of story. Steph will get his Finals MVP that he's well deserved. It's the last thing on his resume he doesn't have. He has every other accolade he could possibly want. Records, he tops them when it comes to most threes made. Like, he's done so much. The only thing he doesn't have is the Finals MVP. And we all know he should have got one in 2015, but we're going to leave that one alone. Bottom line, he'll get it this year. They're going to give it to him. And that'll be it. There'll be no more need for the Warriors to be back in the finals. I mean, if they get there, great, but they've done it already. It's done. You've made, 6 finals appearances in the last 8 years? What more do you want? That's it. I mean, you lost twice and won 3 times out of those appearances, but still, you're a dynasty. It's still a dynasty. Splash Brothers will go down in history as one of the greatest teams ever assembled. And it looks good, but they need to, if they don't get it done, just get it done. Now, Warriors could just say screw it and just win it in 6. If they want to, they could. They could win game 5 and 6 and call it a series if they're willing to hit the kill switch. But if they want to be petty, they could again bring it to game 7 and make it a 7-game series. Or the Boston refs, when they go back to Boston game 6, are going to make sure that the game is called lopsided, so that way Boston does get the game 6 win at home and drag it into game 7. That could happen too. I mean, that's the thing I forgot to mention. Steph got a foul in the first minute of the game in game 4. Like, literally right after tip-off. I just was baffled by that. Not only were they giving him calls early, he wasn't getting any calls either. Like, he's getting fouls on one side, but then when he would get blatantly fouled, like even the guys, Mark Jackson, Stan Van Gundy, Mike Breen calling the game, confirmed that Steph was getting hit hard, and they were not blowing the whistle for Steph at all. Not till like after halftime, he wasn't getting any calls. So it's very safe to say Boston is going to serve up some home cooking in game 6. Just as well as I could say Golden State's going to probably do the same thing in game 5. Now they're going back to San Fran. So be on the lookout for that too. That'll determine how the game goes as well. Definitely will make it interesting. But overall, that's the game 4 recap and the game 5 prediction. Again, I expected Boston to win 1, lose 1 at home, which they did. And I expect Golden State to win game 5. Get back home, protect home court, and if they keep that same energy that they brought last night going into Monday night's game, they got game 5 on lock. There's no way around. There's no way around that. Boston just does not have an answer for Steph Curry unless they figure out who is the defensive assignment from first quarter to fourth quarter. Not named Derek White, not named Al Horford. It has to be the top three defensive guys on the team: the Marcus Smarts, the Jaylen Browns, and the Jason Tatums. Those three guys have to guard Steph at all times. Nobody else, because nobody else can keep up with Steph. Nobody else can step over him. Nobody can close out on him. Those three guys have to be the ones. Period. But this has been another episode of GTA Heat Check ISO Mode. You can follow me, Ty Slatter, on all social media platforms. Subscribe to your channel, GTA Sports. And don't forget GTAsports.com for all things in the world of sports. It's Ty Slatter, GTA Sports. Until next time, yeah.